right. Elon, my favorite white African-American brother. How you doing? Big hug. Big hug. Group hug, because you gonna need it, Cracker. You gonna need it. Yes. So I spoke to my sources this morning about Mr. Elon and what's really going on. And apparently his reason for stepping down at Doge, is that what they call it? Doge? I guess the department that regulates government funding, a lot of funding and things that's going to him and government spending. Yeah, most of it's going to him, just like most of the funding is going to Tyler Perry from BET. Yeah, we have a few people like this in positions, okay? And so he went over there to regulate where money was going so that he can deviate most of the money and tell the government, oh, you have the money because you're spending it on, Medicaid and health care, all those things that Americans can spend themselves, and on free housing. We don't need none of that. You know what I'm saying? They should buy solar housing. They should buy my tiny houses. You know what I'm saying? You're funding all these cars. You're not charging all these people, tariffs on their cars, but yet you're going to hit tariffs. And then all of the products I'm shipping in from India and Africa to build these plastic toy cars, you know what I'm saying? You're making it harder for me too. So apparently, here's the thing. And it's always a paper trail behind it. So a lot of people didn't like him in that position. His co-workers, old colleagues, people that he, just people that are in his circle, his baby mamas and stuff like that. And they have been trying to figure out a way in which how they can, one, get him fired from Doge, and two, get him federally investigated and possibly charged. And so I'm going to be honest with you, that's coming down the pipe, according to my sources, that a federal investigation has been launched on him because apparently he got a little crackhead. He a crackhead too. He got a little drug problem too. So according to his sources that have spoken to the New York Times and other publications, they have photographs, text messages of him texting, people that are close to him saying that he's overusing ketamine, okay, which is a form of, I guess, a shroom that's, readily available by prescription only. And I'm sure he got a doctor like Michael Jackson had one on his team, and how Kanye had one, and a lot of these other, celebrities in high places have a doctor on their team to help them manage stress and depression from the highs and lows of doing business. You know what I'm saying? Apparently he was taking a little too much, more than what he had prescriptions for, okay? And he was taking so much that his kidneys stopped working. He was having kidney problems. Said the man couldn't even piss. Not only that, apparently he had an addiction to ecstasy, which is MDMA. Matter of fact, I think the ecstasy pills got Tesla symbols on them. I always wondered, why did they make the ecstasy pills with Tesla symbols on them? And the only reason I know that it has a Tesla and it's shaped like the Tesla emblem is because I had a show in my house some years ago in Georgia, and my daughter found a little baggie with a Tesla pill in it. And I was like, what is this? So I had to Google what it was. And ironically, it was MDMA. It was Molly, ecstasy, or whatever you call it, okay? And so apparently he has a little problem with that. He has a strong problem with actually consuming shrooms. He's been obtaining this illegally. Apparently, while he was spending $224 million on Trump's campaign, he was overusing illegal drugs during the campaign. And as someone who has one of the top security clearances, and he's not a naturalized, I ain't gonna say a naturalized, he's not a born citizen. He became naturalized because he's a white South African, and that's a whole nother story too. You're not supposed to have that type of clearance, and you're also not supposed to be using any type of illegal drugs, whether you got a prescription for them or not, and obtain government funding as well as government projects, government contracts that he gets billions of dollars for in order to conduct on behalf of the government, because the government spends on the private sector, and apparently that's rule number one, that a government contractor cannot use drugs. And for him to get and be so bold as if he was in South Africa right now, even though South Africa done banned him and his little toy plastic cars. Yes. that malfunction from South Africa. And now Burkina Faso is, they're going to be shipping their electric cars down to South Africa. Trying to get rid of him now. For him to get out after he was asked, they said they were either going to fire him or he could peacefully step down. And from Doge, from working in that department. And so because the New York Times had reached out, I believe it was some months ago, with the allegations and the text messages and the pictures, and they asked him, to get a PR team. We're running the story. We got enough receipts. It doesn't matter if you sue. And the New York Times is like that. They work in line directly with the Southern District and the Eastern District of New York. So when they print whatever it is that they print about these moguls, okay, they can just slide it right over to the feds, and the feds can take that. Same thing they did with Diddy, R. Kelly, a lot of others that came, that were in the position that he's in, which is a public position. And so what makes it complicated for him is that he's broken, according to them, the New York Times, several federal laws. And then you get out and you leak private information about Trump, classified information. It wasn't declassified because you're mad, because he wouldn't stick by you, because you spent $224 million on his campaign and he couldn't defend you or shut the New York Times down, the same New York Times that came after him and spearheaded his campaign, his federal indictment and things like that. No, brother, you got to go. And I just didn't understand why he was so bold anyway to be one of the highest paid government contractors out there. He's taken a lot of contracts from a lot of civilian companies, have discontinued SBA programs, a lot of stuff that a lot of federal funding he felt could have went to him, and more important things, which funds research and AI, the same AI he's using against the government that he claims that he's working for. He's a national security threat, and he's not even a real American citizen. And so as these white people are on social media calling for his deportation and for him to be federally charged because he is not supposed to be using drugs and having high access to high classified documents like that, and then you're gonna call Trump out saying Trump was in the Epstein files and you shared information that you was not supposed to share because you got mad because you got fired on your day off and then had to go back to Twitter screaming and hollering. Go ahead, Aaron. You got some videos on this.
SpaceX. President Trump tonight should sign an executive order calling for the Defense Production Act to be called in SpaceX and seize SpaceX tonight before midnight. The U.S. government should seize it. If a guy's going to sit there and start making quotes, also, as Stuart Stevens talked back in January, I don't know why we haven't had a full investigation. Look, if you're going to deport illegal aliens, you got to deport illegal aliens. The good go with the good, the goose and the gander.
Yes.
They got to go back to this, as Stuart Stevens talked about, and go through everything about his immigration status. I happen to believe, given the facts that I've been shown, that he's an illegal alien, and illegal aliens got to be deported. Also, this drug use is reported in the New York Times. The drug use in the New York Times, if that's a fact, that ought to be investigated. You can't have a security clearance, Jack Posobiec, as you know. Jack, if somebody in your unit had that type of drugs, and they had a security clearance, what would happen to them, sir?
Well, Steve, remember that Hunter Biden popped positive, I believe, for cocaine on his very first weekend in the Navy Reserve. And even at that time, I don't remember if I think his father was still the vice president at the time. He wasn't president yet, or autopan president yet. And Hunter Biden was summarily separated from the United States Navy over his very first weekend as drilling as a Navy reservist over popping positive.
Also, it should take his security clearance away, and all contracts should be suspended pending that investigation. Also, as I said on the Tim Pool show in Matt Gaetz's office, I think over a year ago, right? That was over a year ago, where I said, hey, he's an agent of influence of the Chinese Communist Party because of his financial relationship in Tesla. That should be fully investigated. President Trump is a bull. Elon Musk is a baby calf. Okay? And now it's time for the good of the country, the Republic. Forget MAGA and the Republican Party. This is a national security issue now. It's raised to the level of national security issue of a very unstable individual that's out saying very, I think, dangerous things about the President of the United States. And he has to be investigated, should be investigated immediately. And all contracts associated, all government contracts should be immediately suspended.
I agree. Them plastic cars and everything, they got to go. And so here's the thing. Elon was trying to extend his 130 days and was told he couldn't because of the allegations and because of the conflict of interest. And so when they playing country music in the background of a news clip on an all-white news station, and they're calling saying that, he has a lot of dealings with the Chinese, and things like that. He's direct conflict, a national security threat to the United States of America. They're coming for him, and that's exactly why he issued this tweet. Where's the tweet, Jasmine? Do you have the tweet of him apologizing to President Trump, saying what he said? And if you ain't got it, it's cool. It's fine. We had too many receipts anyway. But yeah, that's why he's like, what I said last week, I said too many things that was wrong last week. I went overboard on what I said about President Trump, our good President Trump. Same way the government finna seize Diddy's $400 million. He playing on thin ice. I'm trying to tell you. Just like Trump said, we can save us easily over $200 billion by stopping contracts with Elon Musk today. How about that? I'm sorry, boss. Boss, I'm sorry. Because he can't go do business anywhere else in the world. And I felt like for a minute, he felt like he was, because he had paid for the election, you know what I'm saying? And everybody was calling him president now. And, he's sitting behind free speech and all of that stuff. I think he thought he was a little bit untouchable. Anyway, moving on until they launch this. Isn't it funny how the live start messing up when I'm talking about these people? Is the live messing up? It's frozen. Anyway, I don't know what's going on. They always do me like that. That's why I have TashaKLive.com.